In colonial America, farmers in Virginia could be thrown in jail for refusing to grow it, fella. You could pay your taxes with it. The sails that carried Columbus to America were made from it. The U.S. Navy required it for every ship in its fleet until the mid-19th century. The British Empire ran on it. The word canvas, the thing artists paint on, comes from the Dutch word for it. The plant is hemp, and in 1937, the United States government made it effectively illegal. Not because it was dangerous, because it was too useful to the wrong people.
You could be imprisoned for not growing it in 1700. You couldn't grow it legally by 1937. The 237-year journey from mandatory crop to banned substance is one of the more creative regulatory achievements in American history.
Wait, hemp is the same as marijuana?
Same plant family, Chris, different variety. Industrial hemp contains less than 0.3% psychoactive compounds. You could smoke an entire field and feel nothing except higher. The people who banned it knew the difference. They just made sure the public didn't.
Before understanding who banned it, understand what was being banned. Hemp fiber is significantly stronger than cotton, naturally resistant to rot, grows without pesticides, produces more fiber per acre. Hemp paper requires no bleaching chemicals and produces more paper per acre than timber. Hemp seeds contain complete protein and omega-3 fatty acids. The plant restores depleted soil rather than depleting it. Reaches harvestable height in 100 days.
So it literally replaces everything that oil and timber produce.
Henry Ford built a car in 1941 with body panels made from hemp-based bioplastic, stronger than steel by impact resistance tests. Ford demonstrated plant-based ethanol as an alternative to gasoline. Researchers have identified thousands of industrial applications across fiber, paper, bioplastic, fuel, food, and medicine. Every single one of those categories has a petroleum or timber competitor. Every single one.
A plant that grows in 100 days without pesticides, restores the soil, replaces cotton, timber, plastic, and oil, and has been cultivated by every civilization on Earth for 10,000 years.
Peter, hemp was banned because of drug concerns, bro. That's just history. The Counterculture Association made it politically toxic.
In 1930, DuPont had just developed nylon, Cleveland, synthetic fiber made from petroleum. Their internal documents, later revealed in court, described hemp as their primary commercial threat. The same year Ford's hemp car was demonstrated, the U.S. government began actively suppressing hemp cultivation. That timing was not coincidental.
Andrew Mellon was U.S. Secretary of the Treasury in 1937. He was also the primary financial backer of DuPont. He was also the uncle-in-law of Harry Anslinger, the man who wrote and presented the hemp ban to Congress. 3 roles, 1 man, 1 outcome. DuPont's nylon patent was filed in 1938, 1 year after the legislation passed. The petrochemical synthetic fiber industry had no major plant-based competitor for the next 80 years.
The man writing the ban was related by marriage to the man funding the company that replaced hemp. The American Medical Association sent a representative to testify against the ban. He was dismissed. The legislation passed. Nobody called a botanist. Nobody called a farmer.
They didn't even call a farmer?
William Randolph Hearst owned millions of acres of timber in North America, Chris. Timber that supplied his newspaper empire. Hemp paper produces more paper per acre than trees and grows to harvestable height in months versus decades for timber. Hearst's newspapers ran front-page campaigns about the dangers of marijuana, using the word marijuana specifically because the public didn't know it was the same plant as hemp. His newspaper chain described hemp users as violent criminals. The campaigns ran for years before the 1937 legislation. The public never heard the word hemp in connection with a ban. They heard marijuana. The agricultural industry and the drug scare were the same campaign.
So the word marijuana was invented to separate hemp from its 300-year agricultural history, and the newspapers doing the separating were owned by the man whose timber business was threatened by hemp paper. Bro, that's the most effective rebranding operation I've ever heard of.
They renamed the plant, ran a media campaign about the renamed plant, passed legislation banning the renamed plant. The original plant, with 300 years of American agricultural history, disappeared from public consciousness inside a decade. The timber and petrochemical industries did not appear in the hearings. They didn't need to. Their family members were running them.
So Mellon wrote the ban, Hearst ran the media campaign, DuPont made the replacement product, 3 industries, 1 plant, gone.
And then they made it international law, fella. 1961, the United Nations Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs. Hemp and heroin classified on the same schedule. The American domestic lobbying push passed through Congress with barely any meaningful debate, then was exported into binding international law across much of the world. For decades, signatory countries were required to restrict hemp cultivation.
The domestic lobbying of 3 American businessmen became international law for the entire planet.
Classified alongside heroin in 1961. Consumed as food, worn as clothing, and used as rope by every civilization on Earth.
So we've been cutting down forests and making plastic from oil for 80 years because someone needed to sell nylon and protect their timber.
The rope in your hardware store is synthetic, fella. The canvas bag at the supermarket is cotton. The paper in your printer came from a tree. The plastic in your packaging came from oil. Every product that replaced hemp still has an industry behind it, still has lobbyists, still has political relationships built over 80 years. Every synthetic version of every product hemp could replace exists not because it was better, but because the better option was removed. Check what the rope in your garage is made from. Then check who makes it. Then check who owns that company. You know where that goes by now.
They banned the canvas. They banned the rope. They banned the paper. They banned the medicine. They banned the fuel. They banned the food. Then sold you plastic bags, synthetic rope, bleached paper, pharmaceutical patents, gasoline, processed food, and called it progress.